But unfortunately, Ronnie would never get the chance to see if that was the truth or not, as he was gunned down in front of his home. A witness nearby flipped him over and tried to help him, as he was found laying in front of his home on the 1700 block of Sea Pine Circle. According to the witness, he was sitting in his car. They ran up like 8 to 10 shots. A witness nearby went over 10 minutes later, flipped him over to help. Blood was everywhere. He was shot a lot. He also had a gun in his waistband, losing his life shortly after. May he rest in peace.
Chrisean Rock's baby's father was shot and killed in a targeted murder that police still haven't solved. Now, as the investigation continues, her name is back at the center of the case, and this time, it's not looking good for her. Here's where this starts. Karen Blake, known online as Ronnie Doe, was the 24-year-old ex-boyfriend of Chrisean Rock. He died after being shot in Severn, Maryland, and Anne Arundel County Police responded to a call at a residence around 7:10 p.m. local time, finding him lying outside. Officers and firefighters gave him aid on scene before rushing him to the University of Maryland Baltimore-Washington Medical Center, where he was later pronounced dead from his gunshot wounds. Police didn't waste time labeling it. Authorities confirmed his death as a homicide and specifically noted the shooting was a targeted act, not random. Somebody wanted Ronnie dead specifically, and that detail is what turned a heartbreaking story into a full-blown investigation. No suspects have ever been publicly named. Anne Arundel County's homicide unit took the case, collected crime scene evidence, and spoke with witnesses, all while working under the belief that this was a targeted attack from day one. Nobody connects a random Maryland shooting to a reality TV star's paternity drama by accident. This connection exists because of a fight that had been building for months, in public, on camera, for anyone with Instagram to see. Rewind to October, months before the shooting. Ronnie went online and said flat out that he was the father of Chrisean's baby, not Blueface, sparking widespread debate. He said he was in the delivery room when the child was born, that he was there when her water broke, that he saw the baby come out and knew who cut the umbilical cord, and he wanted proof, publicly, through a DNA test, arguing that if the child wasn't his, the test would show it. That online back and forth didn't stay online for long. The situation escalated in November 2024 when Ronnie confronted Chrisean at a mall, leading to police intervention. A public argument intense enough that it needed to be broken up, with her infant son present and the paternity question still completely unresolved. By December, he hadn't backed down. He reiterated his claims, stated he'd actually filed for a paternity test, and accused Chrisean of avoiding the legal process. He wasn't just talking anymore, he was trying to force the issue through the courts. So that's the temperature heading into the new year. A public paternity dispute, a mall confrontation that needed police, and a man who kept insisting, on record, that this child was his. Then, in early February, he was dead. Shot, targeted, and within days, the internet had already connected every dot on its own, long before any detective needed to. That's what separates this from a typical local shooting story that would otherwise never make national headlines. It's not just that a young man was killed. It's that he'd spent the better part of a year loudly insisting he had a claim to a baby a famous couple said was theirs, and then, right as that story was heating back up again, he was gone. To be clear, investigators haven't said a word publicly connecting Chrisean to the shooting itself. What they have said is that they're still working the case, still gathering leads, and still asking anyone with information to come forward through an anonymous tip line, which tells you they didn't have it solved quickly. Meanwhile, the people who actually knew Ronnie painted a very different picture than the online arguments ever did. His uncle, Dorvin DeHill, posted almost immediately, not about the paternity drama, just grief, writing that before his own son was born, Ronnie had been the closest thing to a son he had, and asking for justice so the family could finally get closure. That's where this story would have stayed, if not for what happened 2 days later. 2 days after Ronnie died, Chrisean posted something that reignited the entire internet all over again. She shared the results of a DNA test, conducted back in May 2023, on her son's official Instagram page, not her own. The results weren't ambiguous. They confirmed that incarcerated rapper Blueface is the biological father of her child. On paper, that should have settled the argument for good. Except, it didn't feel like a resolution to anyone watching. It felt like something else entirely. People weren't asking whether Ronnie was wrong. They were asking why she waited. One comment that spread everywhere captured the mood perfectly. Why didn't she show that when he was alive? If she'd had this test sitting around since 2023, and Ronnie spent an entire year publicly demanding exactly this kind of proof, why post it now, right after he's gone, and can't respond, can't argue, can't ask a single follow-up question? Chrisean never explained the timing. She just posted it and let the internet do the rest. And the internet did not go easy on her. Some accused her of posting fake results entirely, a serious accusation that went beyond bad timing into outright fabrication. Ronnie's old quotes, insisting he deserved proof, that a test would show the truth, got dug back up and recirculated constantly, stitched together with the new DNA post into a timeline that looked, to a lot of people, less like coincidence and more like an unfinished argument that had been violently interrupted. Chrisean herself stayed almost completely silent about the death directly. No condolences, no comment on the investigation, just the DNA post and nothing else. That silence, paired with the timing, is arguably what's kept this story alive as long as it has. If you thought the DNA test settled anything permanently, Blueface had other plans. This is a man who has now denied being the father of his own son multiple times across multiple years, each time reigniting the entire conversation from scratch. He first denied paternity back in December 2023, months after the child's birth, claiming he'd taken his own test proving his case, meaning even before Ronnie ever entered the public conversation, Blueface himself was the original source of doubt. Then came Chrisean's February 2025 DNA post, which appeared to settle things in the other direction for good. Months later, he actually seemed to come around to it. During a live stream in November, he referred to the child as his son and dismissed the earlier paternity speculation as dumb. That felt like real closure. Then, in a single post, he blew all of it up again. On a Friday night, Blueface went on X and reversed everything, writing that Junior is not my biological son, adding RIP to his father, Ronnie. Not doubt. A flat statement, paired with condolences for a man who'd been shot dead over a year earlier. He explained that he could no longer continue the plot, that it didn't feel right as an active father to his other kids to be seen as absent from a child that wasn't biologically his, and that he'd tried his best to fill in the gaps because the boy's real father was no longer here to do it himself. He was naming Ronnie, using the same nickname the family used, as the actual father, more than a year after the DNA test supposedly closed that exact question for good. Chrisean didn't let it slide. She fired back publicly, accusing him of trying to provoke a reaction with false statements, denying she was diminishing him as a father while making clear she wasn't going to just let it go either, and pointing out he'd flip-flopped on this exact issue before. She also posted something quieter, a simple message asking people to pray for him, using his real first name instead of his stage name, which read less like anger and more like exhaustion. So in under 3 years, not his son in 2023, here's the DNA proof in early 2025, yeah, that's my boy, by November, and the real dad is dead the following spring. 4 different positions, every single one of them landing right on top of a murder case that's never been closed. That instability is exactly why this story refuses to die. Every time Blueface reopens the paternity question, he drags Ronnie's name and his unsolved death right back into headlines with it. That cycle is also what fueled a wave of amateur internet investigation. Once word of Ronnie's death spread and his connection to Chrisean got identified, true crime-style YouTube channels picked the story up almost immediately, framing it as a mystery with a person of interest at the center, some going as far as claiming, without evidence, that Chrisean was under FBI investigation. Police never confirmed anything like that. What they've consistently said, across every update, is that this remains an open, targeted homicide investigation with no suspect publicly named. Blueface's own mother, Carlissa Saffold, even weighed in publicly on Ronnie's death at one point, which only added another layer to an already tangled family situation sitting on top of an active case. More than a year later, that's still roughly where things stand. No arrest, no suspect named, a family still waiting on the justice their uncle publicly asked for the week it happened. And a paternity saga that Blueface has shown, repeatedly, he's not done relitigating, meaning another reversal isn't out of the question. Chrisean, for her part, keeps responding every time he does, defending her son publicly, while still never fully explaining the choices that made this story explode in the first place, like the timing of that original DNA post. Whether the investigation into Ronnie's death ever produces an arrest, whether Blueface ever settles permanently on one version of the truth, and what it means for a child at the center of all of it to grow up inside that uncertainty. Those are all threads that remain completely unresolved, months and years after that first gunshot in Severn, Maryland. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think there's a real connection here, or is this just tragic timing that the internet ran with?